What's up, guys? It's Monday morning. Hayden here with some words of wisdom, and what I want to speak about today is both personal, but it also applies to your career and business. I own a painting company called Quality Coats Painting here in Texas, and I'm just thinking about some principles that I learned from Jim Rohn. So I listened to a good bit of his videos. I plan on purchasing some of his books, and I will be doing reviews on those books because he has a lot of great things to say. And one of the analogies that he brings, or metaphors, I don't know which, I get those confused pretty often, but one of the examples or just kind of illustrations that he brings up is the seasons, and dealing with the seasons, learning to plan for the seasons, and understanding that seasons happen throughout life. You have spring, summer, fall, winter. Every year, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. Every single year. And it applies to your personal life, it applies to your business, it applies to relationships, it applies to finances, it applies to emotional integrity, it applies in so many areas of your life, this spring, summer, fall, and winter idea. And the idea is there's always going to be a winter. There's going to be a time when it rains and it pours and it's difficult, and you have to get through. You have to survive. There's a survival mode, and that's a winter. You have to survive the winter. And to be able to survive the winter, you kind of have to be tough, number one, but number two, you have to expect it. And if you're expecting it, then you're going to be prepared for it. But how do you prepare for something unseen? Because you don't know when a winter's going to hit you. You know, if we're applying this to business, you don't know when the capital's going to stop or the job's going to go south. You don't know what job it's going to be, but what you can guarantee is that it's going to happen. So what are you going to do about it, and how can you prepare? In other words, if you were to look at a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, this would be under the weaknesses and threats category. So working on your weaknesses, maximizing your strengths, maximizing your opportunities, minimizing your threats, right? SWOT analysis. It's a good business analysis, but it also applies to your personal life. All this stuff applies to personal, because all business is a group of people doing stuff, right? So you can take it personal because then it's you doing stuff, right? Business is a group of people doing stuff, and individuality is you doing stuff, and you can still be busy, right? So with that being said, that's the first part of it, winter, right? And then you have spring, and it's a time for sowing of seeds. You have seeds that you can sow in the fall too, don't get me wrong, but you have seeds that you sow in the spring. And when that crop begins to produce, not produce the fruit, but it begins to grow in the summer, you need to be able to protect your crop from foxes, from things that are going to try to spoil what you're making. Right? And you have to prepare for that. You have to prepare for threats to come against and try to take what you've done. That's going to happen in life. It can happen in the form of a relationship that you're building, and then somebody speaks bad about you behind your back to that person and tries to disintegrate the relationship that you grew, right? So it applies to relationships. It can happen in finance, right? You end up with maybe $10,000. You sow it into an investment account, but you didn't study what investment accounts to sow it into, so you sowed it into the wrong investment account, and your money is now lost forever, right? So that being said, there's going to be threats that come against you. There's going to be difficulty that comes against you. There's going to be opportunity that you have. There's going to be opportunity to reap in the fall. And you have to be okay with what you are reaping. You have to be okay with what you get that year. Because what you get is what you deserved. It's what you sowed. It's what you protected. It's what you prepared for. And then winter comes back around, and then spring comes back around, and then summer comes back around on a cycle. You don't necessarily know how long the spring will be. You don't know how long the winter will be. The winter might be a week, right? The winter might be 3 months. But what you can guarantee is that spring will come follow the winter. You're going to have opportunity again. The threats are going to go away, and your opportunities are going to increase, and you're going to have the ability to sow into new things and to produce new things for yourself, to create. And that's what life's about. It's about creation. It's not about consumption. We're called to be producers, not consumers. When you begin to produce, what happens to your psyche is amazing. You begin to come into your own. You begin to have a newfound level of satisfaction within your life. Because consumption, the trick with consumption and the bias that gets created for you is that by consuming, you're then satiated, you're then satisfied, right? And then you're biased towards consumption. But when you begin to produce, you get elated. You're not only satisfied, because you're going to get satisfied for production, because it's satisfying to look back on the work that you've done whenever it's been a good job, right? That's satisfying. But you're also going to be elated, not just satisfied, because consumption doesn't excite the way that production does. Production and creativity has a level of novelty that keeps you on a threshold of excitement. That being said, let's go back to the analogy of spring, summer, winter, fall. Because I don't want you to overlook how important those things are. Those 4 seasons happen in your life all the time, on a cycle, and you can guarantee it. So how are you going to protect yourself? How are you going to prepare for the winter? What kind of attitude are you going to have when you reap in the fall? What kind of attitude are you going to have when you only make $10,000 for the year? Good or bad? Right? Then what are you going to do about it? How are you going to change that next spring? The next time there's an opportunity for you, what are you going to do to utilize that opportunity? Now that being said, I'm pulling up to a house, starting on another exterior project today. I'm excited about this exterior project. It's going to be a good one. We're going to get a lot done, and I'm going to be using the sub. The sub isn't showing up on time already, and it's a problem. You got to prepare for the problem, right? You got to expect the problem. That way you're not surprised about it, and if you know what problems arise, you can know how to plan for and respond to the problems that occur. Because your response to problems a lot of times is the most important part. The important thing isn't the fact that you have problems, right? The important thing is how do you respond to the problems that you have. Because you will have problems. You're not going to be able to stop the problems. And that's what this analogy goes back to. You're not going to be able to stop the spring. You're not going to be able to stop the winter. They're going to come. What are you going to do about it? And what can you expect? Because whenever you expect something, you know how to act. Whenever I expect a subcontractor to not show up on time, how do I act? What can I do to change that? How can I change the expectation that I'm setting with the client? So that I don't maybe speak to them and promise them that I'm going to be there at 8 o'clock. That's something I could change, right? Because then I change the expectation. And if I change the expectation, then I haven't disappointed their expectations yet. Even whenever a sub disappoints mine, right? So I keep a good vibe with the client. So, all that being said, guys, this morning I'm just thinking about how important it is to prepare, to plan, to produce and not consume, and to keep a good attitude along the way. That having a good attitude and a good disposition will put you in a place to be able to have the correct perspective about where you're at. And whenever you have the correct perspective, whenever you have the right lenses, when you're wearing the right glasses, when you're looking at things and wearing the correct glasses, whether it's a problem, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's a threat, whether it's anything that comes up, you'll be ready to handle it in the right way, and you'll be able to make the right decisions. And that is what we call wisdom. Being able to make the right decisions depending on the circumstance, and being able to weigh your options and choose correctly. Because life is about a series of choices. We make a series of steps and a series of choices. Some people paralyze themselves away from making choices. They escape into video games, they escape into movies, they escape into some type of way where they can escape reality. They escape, right? Others make too many choices and then get nothing done because they're just out trying to do everything. And since they don't truly believe in themselves, they move on to the next thing too soon. That's another form of escape. You have to actually go through the fire of committing to a choice. So I started a painting company. I'm going through the fire of committing to this choice. And yeah, I'll probably start another business one day. But I'm not giving up on this one. I'm going to learn the lessons that I need to learn, and I'm going to make the money that I deserve to make in this season of my life. And this season is both a spring, right? So I have opportunity to make money with my painting business, right? It's a spring. But inside of that, I'm realizing that there's going to be winters. There's going to be micro winters, falls, summers that occur within this overarching. So that's micro, right? The macro is I'm in a spring. I'm not in a winter. I haven't gone through some recent personal tragedy or something that's keeping me down, even despite the opportunities, right? That would be like a macro winter. I'm in a spring. I have opportunity. I have the ability to do more now than I have in a long time. And that's exciting, but I'm going to have to be able to protect it. I'm going to have to be able to plan for the difficulties that arise. And I'm going to have to keep a great attitude despite what goes on from the day to day and stay motivated intrinsically and not extrinsically. I'll talk about that on that's a whole nother topic, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. That's something you could look up on Google. Go ahead and look that up. What's intrinsic motivation? What's extrinsic motivation? And what ends up lasting? And a lot of studies have been finding that intrinsic motivation is the type of motivation you want. Motivation that arises from a set of principles and values within you, rather than motivation that arises from getting a new car or being seen in some way. Those types of motivations tend to fade and not last the test of time. But when you're intrinsically motivated, when you're motivated from the inside out, that's where you start to push past all the difficulties and opportunities that might distract you from your goals and objectives. Anyways, I'm going to be talking about goals, objectives, mission, vision, value on my next video when it comes to words of wisdom. I hope you guys have a great day, and God bless.